now we are going to hit record. Okay. So my name is Breezy Tottenhoff, and I am the Program and Event Coordinator for Better Business Bureau serving Eastern Washington, North Idaho, and Montana. I have been with BBB for over a year now, and I'm really excited that we get to offer this kind of benefit for you. So customer service is really at the heart of every business. And that's why this was so important for us to choose a topic that made sense for everyone, because we are all consumers in our own way. And then obviously those of us who work have to deal with customer service in any way possible, whether it's working with your own colleagues or working with another business, or of course the paying customers that walk through your door. So this topic really hits close to home for us because we obviously work with customers and businesses every single day. So whether it's talking to a business owner and working through the accreditation process, to answering the calls that coming in from consumers about scams that are happening to them, or even walking them through our BBB complaint process. We have a really high standard of customer service that we provide to those that we work with. And really that's because we're striving to practice what we preach. We know that our businesses, in order to be accredited, already live up to high standards, so we better meet those as well. Part of our mission is to call out the substandard business practices, and many times the complaints that come through our doors that we work with actually stem from poor customer service, which is ultimately an issue that could have been avoided, and a lot of times is easily resolved. So hopefully you get a lot from this today. We have two guest speakers with us, and they are the ones who are really our subject matter experts. So they will go through multiple things, from working on social media to how they handle their own internal complaints, to what their actual intent for customer service is, what their philosophy is. So the two guests that we have with us are Darrin Belgarde, make sure I pronounce that correctly, Darrin Belgarde and Dalila Sheehan. Together, they are with the Avista Corporation and have over 3 decades, or almost 3 decades of experience with Avista. So we're really excited for them to share their wisdom with us. And those of you that are unfamiliar with Avista, they are actually the primary utility company for the Spokane and surrounding area. They have over 680,000 customers in areas of Washington, Idaho, Oregon, and Alaska. So it's a pretty big customer base for themselves, and they have actually been BBB accredited for over 60 years. We know at least 60 for sure. Unfortunately, back in the 50s, there was a fire and we lost a lot of records. So we make sure that we are still reporting accurately and knowing that they were accredited back in the 50s. So really, unlike 99% of business interactions, customers in this area at least don't have an option to shop around for their electrical and natural gas provider. So Avista is their one-stop shop. So, a utility company could choose to take advantage of that monopoly, so to speak. But Avista really works hard and has dedicated themselves to keeping their rates low, being a partner in the community. I mean, even our semi-professional baseball stadium is named Avista Stadium, so they have a big presence in this area. And really, their ultimate dedication is to provide the highest level of customer service they can, which is why they're here with us today. So today we will cover these topics, truly working out what is customer service, and then how do you set up your expectations for yourself and your own company from the very beginning when dealing with customer matters. Working in the digital age, we know that Facebook and Twitter and the rest of social media really is the norm these days and can be the best way to reach out to your consumers. So how do you work with that? And especially those review sites that are maybe unfrequented or frequented often. So how do you best put your foot forward with that? And then those escalating situations, because we know that sometimes no matter what our best intention is, some people are going to have problems. And we know, Better Business Bureau knows that that is the case sometimes. And it's all in how you deal with it. So we'll work through some of that. And then, of course, touching on the BBB consumer reviews and complaints, because we do host our own for those, and just giving you a few tips on how to work with Better Business Bureau. So what is customer service? Truly, it's a philosophy. I mean, we have a basic understanding of what customer service is, because it's truly the way that you interact with someone looking to do business with you. But we know that there's so much more involved than that. Good customer service truly does start before anyone actually walks through your doors. It's a philosophy. So how do you want people to think of you when they walk away from your business? How do you want them to decide how do you want them to feel when they're even deciding how to work with you? What will they ultimately tell their spouse or their neighbor about the contractor that they're looking to bid for remodeling, or even just the server that they had when they went out to lunch yesterday? Everything is all encompassing, and this really does come back to the golden rule. So we know the golden rule to be do unto your others as you would like to be done unto you. Well, Alex Knapp from Forbes magazine even said, basically put this back into the eye of the customer. Do unto your customers as you want to be treated when you are a customer. And it applies to the basic concept of how you interact with your clientele. So providing good customer service doesn't just mean that the customer is always right. We know that that's not always the case, and it's not that simple. It's truly listening to them, it's being attentive, it's living up to their expectations, if not exceeding them, and it's also always staying true to your brand and your company's values. So from here, I will turn it over to our subject matter experts. As I mentioned earlier, they are both in the realm of customer service, so I'll let them each introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they do, and we'll dive right in. So along the way, if you do have questions for them, they're both here to answer those at the end or as we go along. So please feel free again to do that. All right, Dalila, Darrin, please take it away.
Thank you. So first of all, we just want to say thank you for joining us, and we're excited to share the information that we've gathered. I'm Dalila Sheehan. I've been with Avista for a little over 4 years, and I'm currently the Commission Complaint Specialist. And as part of this presentation, Breezy asked us to share what we think customer service is from a consumer perspective and also from a business perspective. And for me, it really looks the same on both sides. As a consumer, I'm looking for a company that is willing to listen to me, and if I have any issues, that is consistent in their interactions, and is willing to go out of their guidelines if a rare situation occurs. And so again, on the business side, we're hoping to provide all of those things for our customers, but then we also have the piece of making sure that we're balancing the business needs with the consumer needs and making sure that we're treating them all equally.
Very good. Yes, so again, thank you all for joining us today. We were very excited about this opportunity, and we hope that you are able to get something out of it. And again, we're looking forward to your questions at the end. My name is Darrin Belgarde. I've been with Avista Utilities for 22 years. During that time, I've probably performed every position within the customer service department, so I have a little bit of experience. And in answer to the question, what is customer service to me, from a consumer standpoint, it really is about being treated by someone with kindness, respect, and appreciation. It means that the person really enjoys being of service. And finally, customer service to me is a feeling of absolute care. Now, from a business standpoint, as a business professional, it means everything in our business, because without our customers, we absolutely wouldn't be here. So there you have it.
So about 4 years ago, we started working with a consultant to really look at bringing the customer experience to life. And from that, we developed this customer experience intent statement. I'll go ahead and read it. At every point of interaction with Avista, I feel that I am dealing with people that listen and genuinely care about me. They are efficient, open, and honest, communicate appropriately, and are easy to do business with. When problems arise, they are competent, fair, and responsive problem solvers. I trust them to be proactive and always be there with information and advice that allow me to manage my energy costs. I can rely on Avista. So this intent statement was created and became basically our guiding principle. We want the customers to say this statement and feel that it's true. So we use it to resolve complaints, to address performance issues, and we hold it up against our work regularly, anywhere from creating new business processes to just daily operations to make sure that we're continuously aligning with it.
And I can attest to what Dalila said too. In the contact center environment, we have actually taken this customer intent statement and put it on the wall. I mean, it's huge, but it's very visible, and it's a constant reminder that if you have a question about what you think we should do, take a look at the intent statement. Mm-hmm. So along with, or in addition to the customer intent statement, we also listen very carefully to what our customers have to say. So we will, we do use a local marketing and research company to survey our customers on a regular basis. Because from our standpoint, it's really important to know how satisfied they were with the level of service that they actually received. And the only way you can find it out is if you ask. So when we pose the question to our customers, specifically as it pertains to customer service, there are two questions that they are asked about their satisfaction level, and that is overall manner in which your call was handled, and that's on a scale of 1 to 5. And then the second question is overall satisfaction with the customer service you received. The other reason why this is important to the company, and the reason why we take it very seriously, is because we've tied the results of our customers, or we call it, I should back up, we call this the Voice of the Customer survey. And we take the VOC results, and at the end of every year, we tie them to our corporate incentive plan. So in order for that particular part of the plan to pay out, we have to be above 90% satisfaction level. And that combines both the satisfied and very satisfied numbers, just to give you an idea why it seems like it could be so high when we say that for the result in September, we had 98% satisfied customers, because that's combining two segments of satisfaction. So, that's pretty much what we do. And the other thing, just to add to that, when we survey our customers, we also take their verbatims and ask them if they did have a very dissatisfied experience, if they would like us to call them back. And if they indicate that, yes, that would be appropriate, then we will follow up with them to see what we could have done better or what needed to happen in the first place.
Mm-hmm. So you really do bring this back to the training of your staff.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yep, it's full circle. Mm-hmm. Social media. So another form of customer outreach and customer engagement is social media. And Avista Utilities has actually been one of the first utilities to use online engagement to connect with our customers. So we kind of hopped on the bus early on, and along the way we learned a lot about managing an online presence and the resources required to do a good job. Initially, there was a little bit of reservation because when you take on this type of interaction, you need to be able to manage to it. And you can't do it haphazardly or it's going to fall on its face. And so when we finally decided that we were going to fully engage, we fully engaged. And what that means is we've devoted the resources and we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week monitoring. The social media presence that we have is actually managed by our partners in external communications. And we have one person who literally will monitor like Facebook all the time. So anytime there's a notification or an alert, he'll make sure to vet it out accordingly.
So it really is their job to be on Facebook all day.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
Twitter, in case there's something they want to tweet. The other enhancement that we're currently working on, though, is on providing more communication preferences to our customers, because these are pretty one-way communications. But if we took advantage of the opportunity to learn from our customers, how do you want to hear from us? Whether it be through a mobile device, whether it be outage updates that you can get a push notification instantaneously when we have more information about a particular outage. We don't currently have that capability right now, but we're working very hard in implementing that within the next 6 months, hopefully, fingers crossed. So we'll see. Customers also have indicated they'd like to have notifications about payment reminders and alerts. And then the other aspect of social media and how we capitalize on it, or how we capitalize on it, and the way we use it is to take advantage of the ability to provide instant communication to our customers, and also provide timely updates on outages and restoration times. And I'll give you an example in the next slide of how we've been able to do that with the current outlets that we have. We also take advantage of YouTube by posting educational videos on rates and energy conservation, and ultimately how the energy is delivered to your home. So if you haven't visited our YouTube channel, feel free. And then finally, what we've discovered too is that social media is an excellent way to promote career opportunities. And so we've been doing that more and more through Facebook, tweeting, Craigslist, all the other popular outlets out there. And so if you take a look at this slide, here's the most recent example of how we communicated to our customers through Facebook when we were experiencing some pretty widespread outages. And this is relatively new. We hadn't done this until just recently. But what we discovered was that by posting real-time information on Facebook to the people that are following our page, they get instant updates. And we're trying to make it even more useful for customers so that they can kind of utilize it to their specific area. So if you like a particular geographic, then you'll get updates accordingly. But you can see here that it's there. They have the opportunity, to comment on anything that might be relevant. And the other thing that we discovered was that by doing this, customers that choose to call into the contact center for updates, our employees have access to this because we push these notifications out to them as well via email, saying, here, this is what we just showed our customer, so they see it firsthand. And so when they get a call, they're able to repeat and reiterate the exact same thing that we're talking about on our social outlets. So it works really well.
So as Darrin just shared, the social media has been really helpful in the moment for both our customers and our representatives, but we also have a pretty extensive training and development plan. So I'll talk about that a little bit. New employees in the contact centers start out with 6 weeks of new hire training, and that's basically full-time 6 weeks of training. Then they transition into a mentorship program, which is about 7 weeks. So within the first few months of being an Avista employee in the contact center anyway, they're receiving over 250 hours of training on the company and our business processes. And then moving forward, we have continued monthly training for all employees. And our team leaders in the departments provide feedback that comes in through various outlets, and they also track that feedback. And so when the monthly trainings are being planned, that feedback is looked at to see what trends there are and helps determine what training is rolled out. Our employees also have access to an electronic database that stores our up-to-date business processes and even instructions on how to do those within our customer care and billing system. We have one full-time employee that devotes most of her time to maintaining that database and making sure that it's updated. And at this point, it has over 1,000 electronic pages. We also have a quality assurance program that is designed to monitor and evaluate the customer calls. And at this point, we have about 160 employees in our contact centers. And of those, about 140 of them are taking customer calls and receive evaluations. So our quality assurance department currently has 3 full-time employees to do those evaluations. And our current motivational program is called the 101 Club, and that is for employees that have received higher than 100% on their QA evaluation. The current recognition program we call Be Remarkable, and that's based off of receiving customer compliments that are directly related to soft skills. So mentioning that the employee was listening or showing empathy, those representatives are part of the Be Remarkable program. So our intent statement was actually made a part of the evaluation process, and that just shows that we're really reinforcing our commitment to the customer experience, because our business processes are equally weighted with the customer experience. We want to make sure our representatives are following our business processes, but also are giving the customer the best experience possible.
So after all that wonderful training and evaluation, sometimes it's not obvious what we need to do in order to fix the situation for the customer. So we also developed a program, and this is company-wide. It's called Feel Free to Fix It. And again, that's the idea is to be able to empower our employees, increase customer satisfaction, and because it aligns with our customer intent statement in that we are easy to do business with. And I thought I would just kind of share with you an example of when we might implement a Feel Free to Fix It solution. On one of our internal processes in customer service, when a customer makes a payment online, sometimes they choose the wrong payment amount. And sometimes they send us, inadvertently, they send us their mortgage payment instead of their utility payment, right? And when this happens, our internal policy is to wait 10 days before we issue a refund, because we want to make sure that that money is literally in the bank, right? If we issue a refund too soon and it's NSF, then we're out that money. So we really didn't have any other way around it. But in instances where it's pretty clear that they made an obvious mistake and that wasn't their intention, we worked with our finance department and created a rapid refund process, in which case they can get the money back within 2 to 3 days. So the representative has the opportunity when the time comes to say, we're going to do this for you, rather than go through the 10-day waiting period. So that seems to work out really well. Another most recent experience that we had with Feel Free to Fix It was due to the fires in our area, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with. They caused quite a bit of damage and loss. And there were several homes in certain areas that weren't a complete loss, but suffered significant damage to their electrical system that needed to be repaired in order for them to have their service restored. And as a company, we decided that rather than put some of these customers who were in really hardship situations to begin with, we would pick up the cost in order to get their service back up and running. And that was a decision that was made at the very top of the leadership, right? They said, we've got to do something here to help the communities that have been devastated by these fires. So just kind of a high level overview.
And of course, there are situations where feel free to fix does not apply. We have some business processes that do need to remain pretty strict and with good reason. So sometimes customers might need to be escalated to a different representative or a supervisor. And I'll just go over a few examples. If a customer is maybe at risk of being disconnected for non-payment, or maybe they already have been disconnected for non-payment, feel free to fix really isn't an option. We have certain minimums in place that need to be paid prior to restoring service. So as you can imagine, this is one example where they may want to speak to someone else to discuss their account. And to take that a step further, there have been times where, unfortunately, customers decide to take matters into their own hands and reconnect their service on their own without our knowledge. And so this can pose a safety hazard. So then additionally, there are other steps that need to be taken prior to reconnecting service. And to play into that, we sometimes request deposits of our customers. And as you can imagine, if they've already been disconnected for non-payment, maybe they're struggling financially, and then we're asking a deposit of them. So that can heat up the situation a little bit. And moving into this time of year, we see a lot more calls regarding increased usage, and so increased monthly bills and balances. And so we have a lot of high bill inquiries this time of year. So these are just a few, these are probably the most common examples of when customer calls are escalated. And then of course, for these reasons, we would escalate to a supervisor if the customer is specifically asking to speak with a supervisor, if they mention that they're going to contact the State Utility Commission to file a complaint, if they're threatening to go to the media or involve an attorney, or something we take very seriously, if they've threatened an employee or field personnel, they are automatically escalated to a supervisor.
So we also thought it would be hopefully relevant to give you a little bit more of a real life scenario or an example of a situation that we encountered through the years. We had a landlord. He was notorious. Everybody in the entire call center knew his name when it came up, and he established a reputation for himself. And part of the reason why is because he would rent to individuals or families. He had tons of properties all over the area, but he would rent, and if he started to experience issues with his tenants, he would call into the contact center and misrepresent himself as though he was the customer of record. And depending on how creative he was, he sometimes would be successful in getting the information that he wanted. Specifically, he was trying to find out if they were paying their bill, if they were behind, if they were in threat of being disconnected. And then he would take it to another level when he would be disputing with his tenants and trying to evict them. He would call in, and again, if he was successful, he would request that the services be close the account, and disconnect the services. And when he would be able to get through and do that, it created quite an issue. I mean, it really put Avista in the middle of this dispute that we absolutely did not want to be a part of. So much so that we had to figure out something in order to stop this madness from happening. And at the time, we had a person who was essentially already our landlord liaison, responsible for managing those relationships, because landlords do require a certain level of care. But what we did is we made this person the primary contact for this landlord. So from that point forward, if this person ever called in, they didn't have the option of talking to whomever. They couldn't shop for reps to, finally get what they wanted. Once we recognized who it was, they were transferred directly to this employee. And through the years, they actually established a working relationship and a little bit of mutual respect. And so it turned out to be okay. But going through that, it was not a lot of fun. But as a company, I think what we learned was that sometimes customers can require an awful lot of attention for whatever reason, and they can take up valuable resources. But in the long run, from our standpoint, we had to take measures to protect our employees and our customers, and that's exactly what we did.
But that's great. You got creative and you found a solution of, not taxing the whole, but having one person directly relate.
And keeping it contained, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So to continue and to conclude at the same time, we really do sincerely hope that you found our time together today informative and useful. Our goal was to demonstrate how we utilize our customer intent statement to run our business.
And we just, again, wanted to reiterate that we make every effort to apply those principles from the intent statement to our everyday decision making, because we want to ensure that we provide the best possible customer experience. And we thank you guys for joining us.
Well, thank you both. That was really great information. So obviously, Avista has taken quite a few steps to really make their customer experience as best as it can be, and then understanding that when there are troubles, that they're working through those with, especially sounds like a very intensive training program for every employee that comes through, and really helping to encourage the employees to take it into their own hands before needing to escalate, while still knowing that your employee is a person and they're not always there to bend over backwards. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
And we know that sometimes those difficult situations happen, and occasionally it becomes apparent to Better Business Bureau as well. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our customer review and customer complaint process to show you a few of the things, what makes them different, and then how to work through. So one of the biggest misnomers about customer reviews and complaints is that specifically complaints, a customer is looking to have some kind of interaction with the business. They're looking for a response. And unfortunately, given the nature of the word complaint, it does elicit a negative response. Customer reviews, on the other hand, can be positive, neutral, or negative. From the BBB standpoint, when a customer is choosing to submit a review, they are really just looking for their opinion to be heard. They're looking for it to go out into the world, and then that's all it is. And businesses are not required to respond to their customer reviews. And they're absolutely able to, and we encourage that actually, but it's not required. Unlike complaints, really we're looking for those businesses to open up the lines of communication. And actually all of you, our BBB accredited businesses, are required to respond to any complaint that does come through our office. And it doesn't mean you have to always come to the resolution, but we are asking for open communication and providing a good faith effort to addressing the customer's concerns. So specifically focusing on BBB customer reviews, one of the things that makes Better Business Bureau website different than other sites, other review sites where people can post, is that our customers always have to verify that they are a real person. So as soon as they submit a response or review, then they get an email back asking to verify that email. And this really eliminates the bots and any automatic responses that are sent out, is this has to come from a live person. And then also there has to be a marketplace interaction with our customer reviews. So it truly means that a customer had to be approaching a business for a reason. It can't be that an individual has some beef with a business owner and just wants that opinion out on the internet. That to us is not a true customer review. It doesn't actually elicit a good response from either party and is not a good indication of what that business does. And businesses do, with us, always have the chance to respond. Even if it's just thanking, as you can see from the example on here, thanking a person for leaving a review and thanking them for doing business with that business, then that's fantastic. And then, of course, with those negatives as well, they do have a chance to respond, and they don't necessarily have to give their side of the story, but they can at least apologize and maybe say that they hope they can do better next time. And being a reporting agency that Better Business is we also post all of those reviews, so they are public. So as long as the consumer has verified their email address and the business has confirmed that a marketplace interaction did take place, then we will post that. So you can see exactly what has been posted, what Mark from who took a trip with Adventure Life said about his travels to Africa, which is great. And I actually spoke with Jonathan Brunger, who is with Adventure Life, and asked him what their philosophy on customer service was. And because they have phenomenal positive reviews, and that's what we're seeing consistently across the board over the 10 plus years that they've been just BBB accredited, not to mention actually going out. So they have personal follow-up that comes through, and they're asking their travelers to give some sort of feedback with the online community, rate it and share what that experience looks like. And so specifically Adventure Life gives multiple options for folks to leave those online reviews, and Better Business Bureau is one of those. So they link to their business review and ask folks to let them know that way. And this is really great follow-up. It adds a personal touch to every single one of their customers, which is why they actually have a phone call as soon as someone returns home from a trip that has been planned. Within 3 to 5 days, they're getting a phone call from their rep who helped them book that trip. And it also allows them, if there were any issues, to follow up immediately, be proactive in dealing with that problem, as opposed to finding out later through maybe the BBB complaint process or through another avenue that there was an issue. They can address it head on and before things get out of control. So in comparison, we have the BBB complaint process. And this is truly when an interaction has taken place and the consumer was unhappy for whatever reason. They are looking for Better Business Bureau to come in and be the mediator, so to speak. So you can see along the top there that this is essentially our basic timeline for how our complaint process goes. So we receive a complaint from a consumer in our office, and then we forward that verbatim to the business. We do not alter any of the responses that we get, and this really is to promote that open and transparent communication. From there, the business is given 10 days to respond. And if they don't, within those 10 days, a second notice is automatically sent. So we're giving the business ample time because we understand that you're not always just waiting for a complaint to come in. You're still trying to work. But we also know that responding to a customer quickly after they've had some sort of issue is also very important. And then from there, whatever response that the business gives comes to our office, and we forward that again verbatim to that customer. So we really do act essentially as the middleman for it, but it helps us remain neutral. And I do want to point out that, again, same thing with our customer reviews. A marketplace interaction had to have taken place. So usually this involves an exchange of money, so money coming from the consumer and going to the business, but that's not always the case. It can be maybe someone was just asking for a bid and had a really rough experience with that, and they're looking for just some sort of acknowledgement, sometimes is all it can take, of a true apology. And really, ultimately what this boils down to is the business listening to that consumer and addressing what their actual concerns are. So you don't have to agree with what their resolution. If the consumer is asking for you to close your doors and never do business again, that's probably not going to be the case and isn't the best solution. But really substantiate what you're trying to say to them. Why do you agree with them? Why will you maybe give them a 10% refund as opposed to a 20% refund? actually address each point of that and then state what you're saying. And we know that issues are going to come up. It's just a point of doing business. And our ultimate goal with that complaint process is for both sides to share their story of the interaction. So we aren't heavily siding with one or the other. And we're not a government agency, so unfortunately we can't force a business to respond. So we always hope that they do, but that is why we hold our BBB accredited businesses in such esteem, is so that they will do the most ethical thing and at least get back to that consumer because they had some sort of issue that made them stem to go to Better Business Bureau. And then how do you respond? So I'm going to refer a little bit to Dalila on this because she does actually handle all of Avista's complaints that come through Better Business Bureau. So she is the point person there. Ultimately, no matter what it is that you're responding to of a customer issue, be professional. Have your best foot forward, especially if this is coming over in the online world or written world. That's there to stay. You can delete a post on Facebook, but you never know who took a screenshot of that. You always want to display yourself and your business in the best fashion. So come at it from the professional side. And it's not a bad thing to thank them for their patronage. Even if they're very unhappy, thank them for choosing you and then offer your apology. And one of the best things that I read when doing research for this webinar is don't offer an empty apology. Make it sincere. Come from the bottom of your heart because this person wanted to bring up an issue. And so it's also great to acknowledge that this was a concern for them and not to necessarily belittle their process. And then, of course, when it is a bigger conversation, ask to bring that offline because that is a very difficult thing when it's being posted publicly, especially on social media. Other people can very easily feed in and it can become a large matter, much larger than it necessarily needed to be. So offer to bring it online, ask for them to email or call you directly, and then work it out with that customer one-on-one. In the meantime, still responding to their actual complaint or what that looks like. And when to respond, of course, always, even if it's just to thank them for taking the time to post somewhere. Of course, exceptions, there's always an exception to the rule. If you know that this is a baiting kind of situation where a customer is just trying to ruffle feathers or bring things up that have absolutely no relevance to your company, that's a good time to not feed into it. And then if you are going to respond, don't do it when you're still seeing red. Please wait until you've gotten into the best frame of mind and you can really think through logically everything you're going to say and you're not jumping to conclusions and you're not still having your hands shake as you type your response out. So, Dalila, is there anything that you recommend in the responses that you've given to consumers that you would recommend for our business owners and those that are attending?
I think you basically touched on everything that I was going to say already. The things that stand out to me are be professional, acknowledge concerns, and don't respond, if you're upset about the situation. So when I get a complaint, the first thing that I do is I review the account, review any phone calls that were made. Sometimes in my case, there may have already been a claim that was probably denied. So I do all of my research first so that I'm just providing the necessary information to respond to their specific concern, especially because sometimes there's things going on with the customer that don't have anything to do with their concern. So really just only providing the information that's responding to their concern.
That's a really great point. Sometimes someone is just mad at the world and they're choosing to take it out on you. So hopefully that's not the case, but that's a good point to note. Fantastic. So at this point, We have talked at you as much as we possibly can. We do have one question, at least, in the queue. And then for anyone else who does have questions, please encourage you to type those out and we will address them now. But of course, you can always let us know later and we will get back to you. So the first question that we have is from Kelly. And she says, I'm in charge of social media for a business in a competitive market. How do I help our business stand out to clients above our competition? When does social media become too much or overwhelming for consumers? I'm going to go to our experts.
Well, that's a really good question, and I wish I knew the answer because there's certainly a balance that you need to work towards when trying to engage online, whether it be through Facebook or tweeting. There comes a certain point that we've discovered that, for instance, when a customer goes to Facebook to address their complaints or their issues, that's not where you want to air your grievances necessarily, or you want to have that conversation with the customer because all eyes are on you. And as you mentioned earlier, you don't know who could take a screenshot even after you delete it. So we're very, very careful about engaging with the customer when they have an issue. We will always invite them to contact us directly. We would be happy to help them. Oftentimes I will get the comment directly forwarded to me to investigate and look into, and we'll reach out to them if they give us permission to do so. It's kind of a tricky thing too, because you can't overreact and pick up the phone and call, because you could have then just insulted them, because that's not what they were wanting you to do. I've been in that situation before where you think you're going to wrap this up and be extremely helpful, and it ends up backfiring. So to her question, when does social media
become too much or overwhelming for the consumer?
I really think it depends on the consumer, and Darrin touched on it earlier, but we're really working toward knowing our customer preferences. So some customers may never want to be contacted on their cell phone, but some customers might want all of their interaction with us to be on their cell phone. So having their preferences and having the capability to communicate with them in the way that they want is helpful, but it's not a one-size-fits-all.
And I think how you go about setting yourself apart is if you're going to go there, then make sure that you manage to it all the time. So you have to be reliable. And I think that's kind of where we grew throughout the years, is we take it very seriously. And I think when customers can rely on you, no matter how they're reaching out, that's going to set you apart.
That's a really great point. We've seen even in our own office with our social media that posting regularly, too much is definitely not great, but posting regularly is a great way to interact with them. So even if it's just providing, for Avista, providing that usage tip of switching out to maybe energy efficient bulbs, or for Better Business Bureau, just posting out a scam tip for folks to interact. Maybe it's not necessarily an email worthy time, but it is Facebook worthy, where we are letting them know so people can come in. So regularly, but it is finding that fine line of not too frequently too. So someone's, specifically for Facebook, their news feed is just overwhelmed by tips from one business. Do we have any other questions? Okay, I know we are getting close to our time, so I encourage all of you to please follow up with us and let us know if you do have any more questions or if you wanted more information on this. Thank you very much, Darrin and Dalila, for coming in today. We appreciate your knowledge. And I think you've given us some really great tips, and really starting from that beginning and having customer service be a full circle kind of deal for your company, no matter how big or small you are. So Thank you both again. We appreciate Avista for being an accredited business and partnering with us today. And for all of you who have joined, we appreciate it. And please look out for that follow-up email.
Thank you.
Thank you all.